Keepin On looks at the journey of aging through the power of music. Hello, I'm Van Owen Tays, host of the podcast Keepin On, which is brought to you by Walker West Music Academy, where they harness the power of music to foster academic achievement, success, healing, and joy. What helps you keep on doing what you do? Is it music? Music can comfort, heal, inspire, and uplift. It can make you want to sing, dance, tap your foot, create, and learn. Music can help you keep on, keeping on. Today we have with us Reverend Dr. Ellington and Tiwana Porter, husband and wife.
Yes.
And they have given me permission to call them Ellington and Tiwana. So if you hear this, it's no disrespect for the ministry. It's just easier for me to say.
No worries.
Today we're going to have a conversation with both of them about how music expresses and reinforces our faith as we encounter the challenges of life. And there's plenty of songs to document that, so I think we're going to have a really full conversation.
Yes.
Ellington, you were raised in St. Paul.
Born and raised till I was 15.
And
yes,
you have
ma'am.
quite a legacy. So why don't you tell us a little bit about community and music for you?
Yes. Like you said, first off, thank you for allowing us to be here with you. We are honored to share and to this sacred space with you in this podcast. So thank you. Like you said, I was born and raised here. My dad was a pastor in St. Paul. As a matter of fact, right around the corner from where we're at right now, where the church used to be at, Shiloh Baptist Church. My dad was Dr. Robert Porter. My mom was Hazel Porter, his wife. So she was. They were kind of prominent in the church sphere, I would say, here in. I was about to say Sacramento, in St. Paul. And I had my uncle and his wife were pastors in Minneapolis, so we were kind of like on both sides of the city often. And so being raised in church, man, my fondest memories growing up in church in the community was music. We would have midnight musicals. We would have musicals that people would come to our church. I remember the Sounds of Blackness when they were kind of first getting started because Gary Hines played for us. They would have rehearsals, and matter of fact, I think Dad paid for a bus for one of their first tours that they did. So I saw a lot of that. Tony Walker, when he was 12, he started playing at our church. We were kids watching all of this happen, and my mom and dad used to tell me all the time that I would sit up on the back of the pews and I would just try to play the organ on the back of the pews. I always wanted to be an organ player. And so we grew up singing in the church. My dad was a great singer. My mom was a poetess. She would write. She would also do artistic dance. She was just very, very influential about raising us up. And it was always about community. We were always going to a church after our service. We would have our Sunday school. We would have our church service. Then we would go to an afternoon service at somebody's church, either Minneapolis or St. Paul or somewhere around the corner. We would come back. We would have our BTU, and then we would have a night service. Then on the way home, we would stop at the little Kojic church on the way up the street from the house. So we were always in church. It was community for us. But man, it was, to me, was the greatest upbringing for me because it helped me to learn just a lot about life, a lot about who I am as a black man. It helped me to reverence what church meant to me, what God meant to me, and my family. And we continue the legacy. We're pastors, third-generation pastors, raising our children. We have one son, but then I say children because we have so many community children as well as nieces and nephews that have been raised up in the church as well. So community and then the music portion, I say that music is the church was my conservatory. That's where I learned everything about theory, learned everything about music. And then, of course, when I went to college, I was like, oh, this is what I did in school. This is what I did in church. This is what Richard Smallwood was doing. Okay, this is what the Thompson Community Choir was doing. I was a choir head, and so we took lessons with Reverend Walker. We took right before the Walker West Academy started. We would go to his house and that big, beautiful baby grand piano in his living room, and we would take lessons there. And he would always amaze me. He'd be in the other room. Me and my brother, he's 3 years older than me, so he would take lessons first because he sight read better, and then I played by ear better. So I would listen to him do his lessons, and then I would play by ear what he played before me. And Reverend Walker would be in the other room fixing something in the kitchen, and he'll say, nah, Ellington, that's not right, go back, look at the paper, you're looking at your hands. I'm like, how did he know this? So it would be amazing to see all of those things, but that's how we started, and it's
well, you have
made
quite
pathway.
a legendary background, and not to take away from Tiwana, in fact, she has quite a legendary music background herself.
Yes.
So this is really a dynamic pair. And so, Tiwana, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're not from Minnesota, but we welcome you.
Well, thank you. I feel welcome. Yes, I am from Mobile, Alabama. I was born and raised there for about 7 years of my life until we moved. But yeah, I was born and raised there, and so I'm a Southern Belle, and was singing since I was 3. My dad, who's pastor, would run revivals, and he would have me sing before he preached. So they would stand me up in a chair, and I would sing before he would preach, and I did that a lot. And when I was 7, we moved to Richmond, Virginia, and did a lot of work in the community and at school, plays and show choir, and just all kinds of musical things. And so we did that, and our whole family sings, both sides, his side, my husband's side, and of course my side. But
There must be some kind of reunion if
Oh,
you all get together.
when we get together, we were just there not too long ago, and we were literally sitting around. We sit around at the table, we eat and talk, and then we always end up singing. Singing and praying is always a part of the time together, and so it's so funny to have that, I'll be a part of my life. So I've done several things, and I've grown, musically, and of course meeting up with my husband, because I moved to California after I graduated from high school, and met him at church, and it was like all she wrote. So it was really cool just coming together and just continuing to grow in that area of music and things like that.
Well, I'm going to ask you, too, to do sort of a flashback. I want to hear what songs you would say started you on your journey of faith, and then what songs brought you together.
Okay.
Well, I do, as I was talking about my story and talking about my, growing up, one of the first songs that I learned to sing was Even Me, and that's a hymn with my dad. So it was like a call and answer, even me, oh, even me, Lord. So my dad would sing, I would answer him, he would say follow. So that
how beautiful.
Yes, so we would do that, and so that's a vivid memory of mine is singing Even Me as a little girl. Yeah.
Coming up, I remember, for some reason, devotions, because when I started playing piano, I took lessons. My cousin Porter, who played at Greater Friendship with Sabathany then, he would teach me, and I would have to learn the music. So I would learn the music, and I would learn how to play by reading the notes. But the deacons at our church didn't care what I was playing. I would start playing like "Pass Me Not, O Gentle Savior," but they would start singing a different key, and I didn't know how to pick it out. But once I learned, I had an aunt who played, and her name was Laverne Grider, and she said, okay, here's how you figure it out by ear. And so I remember those devotion songs like "Pass Me Not, O Gentle Savior" and "Pray for Me" and different songs like that, because they would sing those songs, and that was like the first part of me learning how to play, following them playing those songs. And then that song. I was talking to some of my musicians friends, talking about this song. This hymn would really show the trueness of the musicianship. Is we've come this far by faith, leaning on the Lord, trusting in His holy word.
Right.
And then we get that B portion, trusting in His holy word. That little change there, those chords, will crucify a musician. And I remember learning, messing up in church, like literally messing up. And each week I would go home and remember what I messed up on and try to figure it out. And coming together. And then as we got older, when we came together, it was like
I was singing devotion.
She was singing devotion. Yeah. She came to California. Her siblings were there first with her mom, and then she came out later after she graduated. And so her brothers, I had taken them under my wing, kind of like as little brothers in our church. My dad was pastoring then. And so I would help them, teach them how to play and different things like that. And they could say, oh, my sister's you're going to love her. She can sing. And she came out and she sang. It was a Sunday night. And she sang for devotion. And I don't remember what song you sang. What did you sing?
I don't know.
I don't remember what song she sang, but she sang and I said, oh, I'm going to marry her. She's, woo. She was just took charge of it. And I always would say, oh man, she just sang with such anointing. The way she led, it's just so amazing. And I think about a couple years later, we were married.
Yeah, we were married, yeah. So, the devotion was very a part. Growing up in a Baptist church, now they call it praise and worship, but
right.
It was devotion.
Yeah,
it was the
devotion,
deacons,
baby.
Doing songs, and the congregation would, it's like a call and answer type of thing. And so that's what that's what we grew up on. And
I think the other thing was choir music.
Yeah.
We would love choir music.
Yeah.
And that was our,
was
me and my
community.
brother, we really started we took over at Shiloh, learning how to work with choirs, and Mother Seals and Mother Whitmore and just different people were in the choir that were seniors to us, and they would let us practice on them, teach them. So we were, teaching songs from the Hawkins family and Thompson Community Choir and Thomas Whitfield. So, and then when we went to California, we started writing music. We started, recording, and Tiwana was one of our featured singers in our choir. So a lot of things that were related around choir music that we still do to this day.
Yeah.
So,
I enjoy listening to you too, because it's such joy.
Oh, wow.
But watching you, Ellington, I kind of wish I had a keyboard, because his fingers are working on this table as we record. And I think I should tell you, when I interviewed Melvin Carter. And he is married to Tony Carter, former Ramsey County Commissioner.
Oh, wow.
He fell in love with her when she sang.
Oh, yeah.
And decided he would marry. So,
yeah.
If you're listening, that might be a sign. One of the things about being in the Spirit is that music sparks something that nothing else can spark. Right. And so when you're talking about a faith walk and its role in messaging in the church, what songs come to mind, and what role do you think music plays in that faith walk?
Yeah. Man, it's so many songs. But I can say that just the walk that I've had, from even a little girl, been joyful, like you mentioned, we've come this far by faith. I used to sing that song. I used to lead that song. And so that's a great memory. But also, there's an old hymn, it's called Shine on Me. I never really knew the importance of it until, you go through life and you want the Lord to really shine his light on you, to really help you. And so that's a significant song. And it also connects me and reminds me of my roots, with my family, my grandmother, all the way to the stories they would tell us about her. I believe it was her grandmother that was sold as a slave. And it was so funny because when we moved to Virginia, we found out that she was sold down at the farmers market downtown Richmond. And we found that out. And when they would take slaves, then they would you took the name on of the family that they, bought. And so the Lads is who my great grandmother, I believe her grandmother was sold to. And so now in Mobile, there's a stadium named after this family called Ladd Stadium. That's where a lot of the prominent football games are. But anyway, I think that just all came to me just thinking about the one song that I would hear them all sing. And so it has really helped and grounded me. And then in these last few years, music has always been fundamental, but these last few years, it's been a anchor for me because going through cancer twice within 2 years, the songs have really just anchored me. There's so many, Donnie McClurkin, Stan, there's so many that I can't remember all of them right now, but there was just just so many that was just a message of hope and holding on that really, really helped me. And not only gospel music, but we love all kinds of music, right. Jazz music, all kinds. And it would be calming. So sometimes, being in the bathtub, James Cleveland is not going to relax me, so I have to put on some Kenny G, or something that's going to allow me to just savor, just take it in. So, yeah. That's been
mindfulness and peaceful
retreat.
Yes.
I know. I'll kind of talk to lately. I remember my wife was saying the last 5 years since we've been here 5 years in August, and we moved back after pastoring for 20 years in Sacramento and kind of retiring from that to be, I took a professorship at North Central University, which is in Minneapolis. And I work with worship leaders and music pastors and just train them in voice and train them just to kind of be ready to go into environments, knowing how to be able to go into urban areas, how to do worship in a mixed cultural context. And I'll never forget this song that one of my students was singing. It was called "Goodness of God," and I was like, "Oh, this is a nice song." And it was kind of boring, Kind of was CCM, contemporary Christian, and I was just like, but something hit that, and it kept. Saying, all my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so good. CeCe Winans just re-recorded it within the last few years. And when Tiwana was going through some cancer, she had breast cancer and colon cancer, that became the anthem of my heart. And I would go different places and I would sing it, and I could not get through the song without tearing up because I thought about how God had been faithful to us. All my life he has been faithful. All my life you've been so good. So we started taking that song, which was not really in the gospel context, and we would take it to gospel churches and we started singing it. And every time we would do that, it would open up an avenue of ministry. Which one will be able to share her story, and different people will become more aware. And we saw how her story of overcoming cancer was a place of healing for a lot of people in different conferences and things we would go to literally around the world, even when we were in Africa. So it's been that song has been kind of like one of those songs of faith that's newer, but a good one.
I read her bio, and it said, Tiwana, that you enjoy life. And it made me think James Murray was someone that helped raise me that I was close to, and he's traveled all the world singing. And he sang a song that sparks in my mind when I read your bio, and it was I Love Life. And I could hear him sing I Love Life and I Want to Live. And I think, that's part of the resilience
yes,
that we can go to through music.
Yes.
It calls some of the history, and some of the pain, but it reinforces the strength that
Yes.
you got to move on.
Yes.
And in preparing to sing, religious music is not entertainment music. It's to spark the spirit. And so, how do you prepare to record and to sing those songs that you know are need to
Yeah.
strike the spirit in others?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
this is a kind of a subject we talk about in school all the time. And I say, well, you have to also, the Bible says that David, he loved God with his heart, but he also loved him with all of his skill as well. He was a skilled musician. So the thing is, we want to give God a whole heart, but all in great skill. And so you can't take away the performative value. I remember we worked closely with the Hawkins family, Edwin Hawkins, Walter Hawkins, who've both passed. But one thing Edwin would say is that he said, so don't ever get up and say that gospel music is about performance. He said, do you have rehearsal? He said, yeah. He said, do you all have a uniform? He said, yeah. Do you have robes? He said, yeah. Do you have what you can wear and what you can't wear? He said, yeah. Do y'all work on your moves and all that? He said, yeah. He said, all of that is performative value. He said, but you got to understand, you're performing for an audience of one, for God. And if he's pleased, we want to give God our best. Right. So the thing is, I believe that, you said preparing for a recording. We're actually preparing. Tiwana's going to be recording in October. And so we're preparing now songs, going through what songs, what arrangements, what band members, what all of these. So it's the same level of preparing that you would do for a show that you would do for down if you're going to go to First Avenue, if you're going to go to Jazz Central, if you're going to do all of these different things, bunkers. It's the same performative value, but the extra thing is that we are presenting the gospel, the good news, the word of God in song. So therefore, to me, it takes even more to make sure that we're giving that every effort we can give so that people not only hear great music, but feel good spirit, that God's spirit is permeating as we prepare a place for him to be with us as we serve. So that's something that it takes a lot. We've done a lot of performances over the years and performing great auditoriums and like Staples Center and Arco Arena and Gordon One, all these different places. So you have all these, and you get 3 minutes, you get 5 minutes, you get 10 minutes. So it's like you have to try to go in there, and we would always say like let's kill them quickly. That was our thing. We want to go in there, we want to go hit them on 10 and let them feel the spirit from the first note. And a lot of times we would see people come back and say, man, I felt God's presence in that moment, and that's so when that happens, we feel like we've done our best to serve.
And to continue on, that part of, what you live through, our life experiences prepare us for when we sing, going through different things, how we come out, staying anchored, and meditating. All of that goes into those places, because if you don't have an experience, then how are the people that are listening to you going to really feel it? It's just like with any music. Of course, gospel music has such the message of Christ. But if you listen to a secular artist that is talking about, I love country music because country music, it tells stories. I love it, absolutely love it. And it's so convincing, you know what I'm saying? So when someone is really talking about their story, you can relate to them and it does something. And one of the things with the recording that's coming up, what I wanted to do is capture the moment of and showing the healing power of music, because there has been healing through the music that has helped me through life, just not just the cancer, but just through everything. There's been a healing element there. And so I really want to share that along with my story of how it did, but a lot of it in preparation you do all of the practical stuff, but then there is a side that you meditation, and you thinking on, what this has meant to you, so that you could portray that, because they can read you. People know if you're real or not. And a lot of times that's very important, to us in doing that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it sounds like you keep it real. In fact, I know it because I witnessed it. That's how I got acquainted with you, and sitting in the audience and going, "Oh my God, they have to come on. We have to. They have to share their story."
Yes.
So it's giving meaning to the words. It's being your authentic self.
Yes.
It's really connecting with heart
Yes.
to the audience. And what do they give back to you?
Just the love, just the presence. Their presence. It does something for me every time I have sang. I've connected. Connected not only hearts, but I visually try to connect with people, because a lot of times you can really see where they are, and just them. There's just something that's unspoken that they give, back. A lot of people and a lot of performers, like of course Beyonce was just here, and I know that the crowd, the who, woo, all of that gives that energy back to like, oh, we love this. So in other words, in the church, when people are just like connecting, of like waving a hand or just sitting there having an endearing, moment, it feeds back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think for me, I always say that whether I'm preaching, whether I'm teaching, whether I'm performing music, whatever, we're always trying to connect with the audience. We're trying to connect with the person. So as we, even when I teach my classes, I'm always surveying the room, and if I see that the lights are lighting up, then I know that we're connecting in the right place. Even if I have my game plan, my sermon, my notes, my whatever it is that I have, my lesson plan, if it's not hitting on the same thing, and everybody's starting, it's kind of weaning back, then I switch it up to so I can meet the needs of the audience, because then I feel like if I have your attention, then you are garnering or learning something from this moment. And you can learn so much from a music moment. I'm a music head, so when I go into an audience, and I'm sitting in the audience, and I see one of my favorite musicians, I'm just in awe of everything. I'm noticing every little thing. And our son's a musician, and we teach him the same thing. He plays piano and drums, and I think he's played every major venue in the city. But he comes home and he's like, "Dad," I said, "Well, how was it?" He's like, "Oh man, the audience got with us. We hit this one part, and the audience they just start vibing with us, and it was right." I was like, there it is, to play to the room.
Sync.
Yes,
It's a sync. It's a synergy,
You and the
right?
audience are one. Yeah.
You're working, and I know we always say that the church performance is not a show, but those are the moments, man, when you get the audience start to singing, and you're singing, and everybody's responding. Oh man, you hit this synergy, and a 5-minute set can turn into, like you said, 15 minutes, and and then the Holy Ghost come and everybody starts shouting and running, and I mean, it could turn the whole service. But if you're not, it has to be a vertical. If I can be spiritual, Christian music has to have vertical, where it's going up to God, but it also has to be horizontal, like the cross. It has a vertical and a horizontal. It has to meet the needs of the people, encourage and inspire the people while we're lifting up the name of the Lord.
There have been occasions when I have spoken, because I do not sing, but I'm speaking, and all of a sudden I feel like it's not just me speaking.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I'm wondering if you get that connection where you say, somehow something's taken over me, and I am singing or doing something, and I don't exactly know how I got here.
Right. Yeah.
But I know I'm here.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
Oh, yeah.
And I kind of call that living in the zone. It's like I never want to, especially as a pastoring for so many years, preaching every Sunday, preaching, and I never wanted to get up and just want to preach or connect or say something that was just something that I felt like was going to be me saying it. I want to be in the zone where God takes over and uses me as his vessel. And sometimes I have to get to the end and I'm like, man, that went by quick. Or even kind of like today, this went by quick, but it's been moments where we can sense God's being able to speak through us and utilize us. And that's the best part. That's the best part.
Well, ministry is part of what you do too. Have you ever been just talking to someone and felt that they needed the inspiration of music and broke into song?
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
Yes.
that's happened a lot.
Especially now, I'm good at that. Tawana does that all the time. We'll be in a restaurant. She'll just start singing to people or just start ministering to people. She'll just go to complete strangers and, share a word that God has given her for them. And to see their countenance lift, or to even sometimes see people shed a tear, because you never know that God will utilize us to minister to people that don't know us, never seen us before. But when we hear the call of God to just say, you know what, you should smile more. You have a pretty smile. And that, see them breaking tears like, I needed something. I was praying for God to just send someone my way. And that just is what I needed. So, those are the times when ministry is not just in the pulpit or just in the church. We should live out ministry daily as we walk throughout the earth.
Yeah, ministry's in the world.
It
where
is.
Where you live. But our audience can't see you.
Yes.
But there's sort of an aura around you that says, you can talk to me. I'm real.
Yeah.
And that makes a difference. When you look at someone and they are really seeing you,
Yes, ma'am.
it's a
Yes.
difference than if you just shake somebody's hand,
Right. Yeah.
So the power to connect
That's
is a
it.
gift, apparently, that you've been.
Yeah, there's a
given.
principle I teach to all. I've been teaching for years, but I teach it to all my students, that there's a power in connection. And I said, and relationships are the best form of currency. So be careful how you spend it. And when I say that, it's like building these relationships, our relationships that we're building around this table, we're building. You never know where those relationships will take you. So you always want to treat everyone with loving kindness and be open and hospitable to people. And we try to really, really pour that into our son, but also at the school, we've inherited a bunch of children. It's like all the kids, they call me uncle, they call her auntie. They just come in our office and sit, or they'll come over to the house and so we inherited kids. And, but we have a safe space, excuse me, for them to just be themselves, and even to experience, wrestle with their faith, wrestle with whatever it is that they're going through. I just did a recording earlier this week for one of my students that graduated. She's gone through a process of healing, had a horrible accident. God's healed her. And she asked me if I would be a part of the recording. And I said, I'd love to, because it's a space where we can show God's healing power through music. So it's a great thing. And we try to be open for people to come in and just feel free to communicate and connect.
Do you have any favorite songs that you can almost rely on to make that connection, that, you sort of the repertoire you draw on at the last minute?
Yeah, there's a song, and this probably may sound vain, but it's a song that my brother-in-law wrote. It's called Best Day. It's a big song that's pretty big in the around in the church world right now. Ricky Dillard recorded it. Potter's House in Denver recorded it. And it's called The Best Day. And it says, today will be the best day of my life. I get my joy back today. And it's a simple song. And it's a song that we have sung. We've sang it for dignitaries. We've sang it for government. We've sang it for, in the church. We've sang it in all these many spaces. And it's taken on this huge life. But 20 years ago, it was a song that we just sang in our church. And Tawana sang it, and I was singing it. We would just sing it. And it was a song that would inspire joy, inspire peace, inspire happiness. And I asked him, I said, Caesar, what made you write that song? And he was living with us at the time. He said, man, I was having one of the worst days of my life. And God said, proclaim this to be the best day of your life on the worst day of your life. And we started singing that song. And that song is just one of those songs that every time I remember when I interviewed for this job, we sang this song at North Central, and all of the kids started singing it. They said the golf team would go to their tournaments, and they would be on the bus singing, "Today will be the best day." So they started proclaiming this is going to be the best day of their life. They was going to win. So we were just seeing how this song just took on a whole life of itself. Right. And so that's one of those songs that just kind of like we sing that just, I think that's inspires people. Right. So yeah.
Well, my observation of what's going on in the world is people don't have enough joy.
Right.
Oh, man.
If people, how much better you feel when you feel joyful.
Listen,
And so being in the Spirit is what you do.
Yes, ma'am.
So well.
Yes.
And it makes others joyful. So you must feel that you're living into your purpose.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We're trying to do that every day.
Yes.
Every day.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us. Minnesota, the Twin Cities, the world is fortunate to be gifted to your talents, and we thank you so much for helping us in this podcast, Keepin On, and you keep keeping on because you're doing a great job.
Oh,
Thank you
bless
so much.
Thank you so much
you.
for the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Thank you to today's guest and to you, our listening audience, for joining us today. As Plato says, music gives a soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and life to everything. Until next time, keep keeping on.